Welcome, welcome everybody to the ninth episode of Dual Universe Explorers. For those of you who are new here, either watching out there on Twitch or YouTube, now we've got some new channels this week. We've got Beam, Stream Up, Hitbox, and I believe we're also streaming live on YouTube. Dual Universe Explorers is composed of a group of fans that came together from the Dual Universe forums to discuss the latest news about the game every week. We talk about everything from news shared on NovaQuark social media pages to mostly hypothetical mechanics. Especially we like to discuss potentials and, things that we dream of happening in the game. And let our imaginations mostly run wild with the possibilities. Of course, with that being said, we want to remind everybody that the opinions expressed on this show are our own, and we are in no way affiliated with NovaQuark or anyone employed by NovaQuark. And now that that is all out of the way, I'm going to introduce our host for tonight, Mastered Red.
Hello.
Howdy.
Now, shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I shall begin with introductions. Kaiman.
Yo, how's it going? I'm just here. I read stuff from time to time, talk about things.
Cool. Traxy.
Hey guys, just hang out the second time on the episode. Kind of the same as Cayman. Read stuff, lurk a lot.
And then I assume Yama has already introduced himself, so it shall be me, Mastered Red, leader of DOA and random person. Who knows what I do. So in the news this week on DOA, we have NovaQuark. Last week they attended Gamescom, and they shared a couple images with us. Just a couple images to social media. So here we have a picture of one of the rooms at Gamescom, and it has a sci-fi theme. Always cool to see that. And it definitely emphasizes the point of space this year. Lots of space games that come out. No Man's Sky, Dual Universe has made its preview. So it's definitely cool to see that. Any comments on the picture?
I wonder if this is before or after the party.
Looks like it's before the party.
Yeah, everything's clean.
Yeah.
Everything's
Where's that
clean.
station from?
Yeah, what game is that?
I don't know. Oh, and
Hmm.
Planet Nomads came out this week, I think.
Yeah.
A whole ton of space stuff. That's always cool. Let's see,
What-
that space.
That space station, I've seen it in a trailer somewhere.
So have I. I
Yeah.
can't remember where.
Man. It
Anybody
almost
in Twitch?
solar panels.
Anybody on chat?
Yes, please. We want information. We want now. Those solar panels, though. Wonder if DU will have solar panels.
Was this from the Long Journey Home?
Maybe.
It might be. I don't know. I know I've seen it before. I just can't remember where.
Well, that art style.
Yeah, that's-
Maybe.
That's not the Long Journey Home, I don't think.
Yeah, but
Good question.
good question.
Better question. Can we build it in Dual Universe?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Please. Please allow us to.
I'm sure we can
Yeah, if
build
we
anything. So
If we can't, I will be highly disappointed.
it looks rather massive. So probably be quite the undertaking if we do happen to build it.
Yeah. Yep, this kind of like Stargates as well. Gonna take a lot of time, a lot of manpower, and a lot of waiting. Okay then. Well, that's the Gamescom room, or one of them. So now, if we were to take a look at the next picture, we have a picture of the Gamescom NovaCorp booth. You know, just the NovaCorp booth. Features Dual Universe, and it's a booth. What else can I say about it?
It's very tiny,
Yeah.
slightly
Oh.
claustrophobic.
Hey there, want to take a look? Come back into this small, tiny little cramped booth.
Now, I believe
Good grief.
the guy on the right is who we know as Nizeltar. I don't know who it is on the left, though.
Well, it all
not JC?
seems like they're...
No. JC, I think, is sitting in the chair talking to them on the laptop there.
Oh.
Well, either way, they all must be close friends by the size of that booth. Good grief.
Right.
There is no breathing room.
I hope PAX has a bigger booth. I suppose we'll see.
Yeah.
That kind of tells you, though, like, there wasn't a hands-on demo there. That was more of a sit down and watch this video, and then I'm going to show you it running on this computer to prove to you that it works. And it's not just some pre-rendered thing.
For some skeptics out there who still don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And you can see the laptop there, so it doesn't look like a, big, thick gamer's laptop.
Well, they've got two separate laptops there.
Yeah, they've got what is that, an Alienware or something? Or is that
Yeah.
Republic of Gamers, maybe?
I think it's Republic of Gamers. That's what it looks like.
Looks to be decent. And they have that laptop over there, and it's not taking up the whole room, so we're fine. It definitely looks to be sporting. Yeah.
So we have no earthly idea what those laptops were used for, so.
Yeah. Well, after that tiny booth, we now have a picture of a waffle board, courtesy of Pixel Bot, or Pixel BBQ, at pxlbbq.com.
They actually gave them a waffle.
Yes. Tasty.
Interesting. Still want to know who that other guy is.
Is that one of the co-founders?
Maybe.
Is he a press guy? I don't know.
Maybe. We have no idea. But either way, they got a waffle. I'm hungry
Kinda
now.
tiny waffle.
Yeah, that's not even a waffle, sadly, to be proud about.
Right.
It's just there. Oh, here, let me eat it in one bite. Aw, it's gone now.
Are you
Our
sure
award
that's
is
not?
gone.
Are you sure that's not JC?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Yeah, it doesn't look be. Let's see. And this looks to be... Yeah, this is next to the booth as well. That is a small ward.
Well, it's not NovaCorp's fault.
No. No, fortunately...
What a
hopefully they'll
weird
get a
thing to
lot
give
more
out as an
awards.
award, right? A waffle?
Yeah, a waffle. Oh, hey, you did good. Here's a good waffle.
Here's a pack of Skittles I bought.
On my way to the show.
Yep, here's what you get to show for it. And by the way, it'll go bad in 1 week. Make sure you eat it.
Here's a Mountain Dew and some Starburst.
Ooh, tasty. Too bad it doesn't last. We won't have this award for our shelves later on.
Well, I do know that at PAX I was told that JC, I think, is going to be the only one there. I'm hoping that one of the other employees of NovaCorp manages to make it down to Seattle, or make it all the way over to Seattle.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's kind of far, though, and those plane tickets cannot be cheap.
Yeah.
No.
It wasn't cheap for me, and I'm in Austin.
Yeah. Maybe.
Imagine flying overseas.
Yeah. That's why I basically stay in the comfort of my lair.
I'll take some pictures for you guys at PAX. I'm going.
And strangely enough, the size of my lair is bigger than their whole booth. Okay.
Hopefully you get to stream too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but the
hopefully.
internet at PAX, I can't imagine, is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
1440p.
Then they do plan on having a lot of different gaming companies there, and they're all going to want to be showing stuff off. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely take video and upload when I can. I don't know that I'll be able to do a live stream from there, or I'd love to do a Q&A. However, that does bring up the point that if anybody has questions they want me to ask JC, send them to me, and I'm doing one question per person, and I'm putting them in a big list.
I just want to know if they're going to be at PAX South.
Maybe. There's a good chance they probably won't, though, because they said that they're going to be really pushing for getting Alpha ready for release.
Right.
Which kind of lines
Yeah.
up with my suspicion that Alpha comes out in February 2017. That's just my theory.
Hey, I'll be happy if we get within the first part of next year.
yeah. I'm hoping it's in the first quarter. It should be. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Yeah, with all the work that they're doing, it's a tech demo at this point that's working. All they need to do is get a couple more features in and optimize it, and
All they've
Make it-
shown us is a tech demo.
yeah,
I don't
they may
I don't
have
think-
things.
I think when Alpha comes out, there's not going to be like a skill system or like leveling or anything. I think we're just going to get sandbox access to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be creative mode. That's about it.
Yeah, creative mode
Kind of.
with a couple twists.
Yeah, kind of like how Planet Nomad's released. All you can do is build stuff in that game, and that's it.
Also, EverQuest Landmark, that's how it released in Alpha.
Yeah.
Still, you get to tinker around with it. It's worth it.
As long as all the power systems and stuff like that work so that you can actually test things out, I'm good with that.
Yep, and if we can get the general physics system that they're going for too.
Yeah. Hopefully there's flight and stuff.
Oh, hey, you get the alpha. No flight for you though.
Planet Nomads did that. All you can do is build ground vehicles. So,
Oh,
Wow.
I cringe at that.
yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on here. So, this week they also released a whole nother thing. And guess what it is? The 3D art of the week. Of course it is. They actually released the 3D art of the core unit. Now, it goes on to say in their Facebook post about this unit, for any construct a player will build, it will require a core unit as the first block. The elements contain all the information about the ownership and admin rights, who owns the construct, who can use it, who can edit, etc. The size of the core unit defines the size of buildings around it, and the type of the core unit can define which kind of construct you can build with. Dynamic core units are mobile constructs such as spaceships or hovercrafts. Static core units are made for building houses, outposts, and even skyscrapers in a city. The models shown below are the small sizes. They respectively have a size of 1, 2, 4, or 16 voxels, equivalent to 25 centimeters, 50 centimeters, 1 meter, or 4 meters. And if you don't know metric units, too bad for you. I'm not converting them. So yeah,
that tells us a lot about this game, though, because that tells us how big a voxel is now.
yep.
We
And
know.
this action... Oh no, continue on.
I was going to say that I've seen several different things stated about voxel size on the forums, like people asking questions about that. But now that we know a voxel is 25 centimeters, yeah, I mean, we kind of can grasp the scale of everything from there. I was going to actually make a paper model of the smallest voxel at 25 centimeters, just to put it up to something to see how big that actually would be in real life.
It fits in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
I
That's
thought
why
they
I-
had mentioned the smallest voxel you could make in the past was 25 centimeters, because me and Matsuju had talked about it, and he'd done the same thing. He made like a little model cube.
Yeah. This reminds me of actually a game mechanic in a game that probably not many of you will have heard StarMade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Well, basically, as said, you start out with a core unit. It's not as diverse as this, but you start out with a core unit, and you can basically create a number of ships with that. It's a one-size core unit because that game doesn't have as much, you could say. It's not made by a major studio, but basically you just start with a core unit, and that's how you build your ship, and this gives us a lot of information. It only makes sense, though, that this is what they would do.
Right.
Oh, by the way, 1 meter equals 3.2 feet.
Yep. I'm not doing that conversion for people. They can figure it out themselves.
Google.
Yep.
Google.
That's all I did. So 4 meters would be 13 foot tall.
Oh my god.
And that's the bigger voxel. Okay. Well, that gives you an idea, at least.
Yeah.
Now, I hope that they'll do a system similar to, to build these core units. I hope they'll do it to where each one costs a different amount, or you can't just place it down. Because that's only makes sense.
I think if you want to play a game that is going to be similar to the construction style, minus the amount of detail we can put with all the voxels, it kind of reminds me of the construction in Empyrean, where there's core units, and there's a core unit for ships, and there's a core unit for buildings that are on the ground that don't go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can just kind of build around the core units. But it has me wondering if this core unit is going to plug into anything, like if something has to hook up to it, or if you can just stack voxels next to it.
Well,
does it have to be powered?
We got a confirmation of wires, and that certainly would be very nice. But I don't see any ports on the sides either.
Yeah, so there's nothing for the wires to plug into.
Unless those things on each corner is like a port.
Maybe.
Or maybe,
it looks more like screws.
Yeah. Oh, hey, maybe the actual circular bit is a power socket. Just plug it right in.
Can you imagine the size of that cable for the big one?
Oh my god.
The small one is 9 inches. 25 centimeters to 1 inch is 9 inches. 9.8 inches. That's a thick ass cable.
It is.
Wow, that's like the size of a soda bottle or something bigger.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think that's how they're going to hook up to things. I was wondering if they're going to slide into something, or if the surrounding units have to be something else.
Maybe. Well, we know. What about? Here's a possibility. What about if the core unit gets hit? Maybe you can reclaim it. Maybe if you're the enemy and you salvage the core unit by hitting it, maybe you can reclaim it.
They've talked about hacking before.
Yeah. Hacking. Blow it up, build it again.
Here's a question. What is a space station? Is that the dynamic or is it the static? I'm assuming it's the dynamic.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they said they moved their space station for the gameplay video.
Oh.
They more copy and paste.
Yeah.
So it's probably the static.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see a whole lot of people moving space stations.
Hey guys, we got a forklift.
But they said that a space station could be moved, but it needed giant Titan engines to do it. Like the one in the demo.
Thrusters.
Yeah, they said the one in the demo would need 28 Titan thrusters to move it.
Wow.
Maybe it depends on how you build it.
Maybe.
Yeah, that could be.
The more weight it has is going to dictate how many thrusters it needs.
Here's a good question. When you build a space station, can you start building it in space, or do you have to start building it on the ground and then move it up to space and then start building on it?
This actually raises a question that I thought about because of one of my faction members. We were chatting about it. And basically, the idea came up maybe we would possibly transport Stargates instead of actually building them somewhere. It's an idea. Maybe that would be better than actually hauling the resources to build a Stargate, but we don't know.
I guess if you could build it attached to a space station, and if space stations are movable.
Yeah. And although that begs the question, how much power will Stargate need? And if the warp drives are built using power, we could probably just put a warp drive on our Stargate and warp it out to wherever we were planning to have it put.
I will put space stations near Stargates, but I don't know if I would put it on a Stargate.
I remember, so they said you have to send your probes out, and then you warp to the probe, and then you build your Stargate there. We don't know if those once they're built, if those Stargates will be movable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some questions about the probes, but I'd like to see a screenshot of one of those. Yeah, actually, that's the thing. That's if I wanted to see a screenshot of a 3D item, the most it would be a probe. How big are they? I think there's some like sketch art of a probe. Maybe I think I remember seeing one, but maybe I'm just imagining it.
Well, I'm thinking the probes are going to be more designed by us. It's just going to be having specific items on it, certain elements that dictate what it does.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. Certainly be interesting to find out.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's the core units. They look pretty simple, but they reveal a lot still. Yeah, so now that we got that out of the way, how about we start with the Q&A questions? And so this week we had 3 AMA questions from the developers that were answered. And so, yeah, let's go on to read them. How about I assign number 1 to, let's say, I'll do it. Because we have 4 people here. All right. So the AMA question, number 33 for Tuesday the 23rd, August 2016, goes on to say, and the quote here reads, will there be day-night cycles unique to each planet? For example, will Ilah orbit its sun and spin on its axis? Or will day/night just update when you enter the atmosphere? And then he goes on to answer here, everything is physically based. So if there is a day/night cycle, it must either be because the planets turn around the sun, or the planets turn around themselves, no need to orbit the sun actually, or number 3, the sun turns around the planets, which is cheaper. And it says, we have already implemented point 3, so that is what might come out in the alpha. Point 2 is the next step if we find a way to create a sticky atmosphere. When a ship moves up, the ground should not start to roll under it. So you need an artificial force to push you alongside the rotating planet. There are still a lot of issues with point 2, so we can't promise it, even if it is our preferred choice. Point 1 is nice, but has the same problems like point 2, and brings up a lot of other new issues like planets colliding with stationary ships in space, or even planet collisions if we have a real Newtonian dynamics. For players, it makes the business of estimating travel costs quite complex. You can't assume a fixed distance. For these reasons, it will most likely not be implemented. So in short, we aim for solution 2. It goes on to answer quite a bit. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'd like number 1. I think everybody wants number 1. But number 1 does have the problem they said where if you log out in a spaceship in the middle of space, what's going to happen if you're in the middle of the orbit path of a planet? What happens to your ship or your space station?
Yeah, everyone wants number one for jokes.
But
unless they have orbital physics, in which you can place an object in orbit around a planet.
like Newtonian physics.
Then, yeah, if the planet comes up on you, you just fall into orbit.
But can you think about, imagine the difficulty in trying to do realistic Newtonian physics in a giant...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe in the
Still,
far
people
future.
want it.
Maybe in the far, far future.
Space engineers build 1,871.
But number two, if that's what they're aiming for, planets turning around themselves, it's the problem they talked about where there's a sticky atmosphere. Like when a ship moves up, does the ground move on its own under it, or what? At what distance from the ground does a ship no longer, does a ship actually see the planet rotating under it?
Hmm.
Well, what's the scale of their day-night cycle going to be? Is it going to be 1-to-1 to real life, or is it going to be faster?
Probably depends on the size of the planet. But
I'd
for
hope it'd
now,
be a bit faster.
So I
Like
can
that-
see if oh, go ahead.
just go ahead. Sorry.
I can see if they set it up to where different levels of you being in the atmosphere determines whether you move, determines how much you move with the planet. You wouldn't have to do like real physics, but you could say once you've reached a certain level, the planet will move so much faster than you do.
It means you also can't fly to the sun easily because the sun is always moving. But if the planets move on their own, see, the reason I'd like number one is because the difficulty in trying to estimate time and trying to fly to another planet, not knowing where it's going to be, having to figure out its orbit, would be a daunting task.
Right.
Yeah.
But number two kind of guarantees that everything's going to be in the same place all the time.
Yeah, the
but-
system works.
But if you're on a planet, you might have to wait till a certain time of day for your ship, to be able to take off and go directly to the planet you're going to, or to the station you're going to, as opposed to just taking off and going there no matter what, because the planet is rotating, so the direction that you're facing is different.
Yeah. And I'd hope there'd be, in some instances, not that would be practical, but maybe they could create a star here, and then, in some areas you might get two suns, maybe on a far out planets. Be interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, what do
Go on
you guys think about number one? Clearly that's something that we would want, but we know why it couldn't work.
Yeah.
Also got to think of the performance on the server it's going to take. How much math is that going to impose on the server?
Too much.
Yeah.
I guess it's a layer of realism that just has to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but
Yeah.
which of course they did do it in Kerbal.
Yeah, they did do it in Kerbal.
Does Kerbal run very well multiplayer?
No.
Kerbal doesn't run multiplayer at all. So
There's a mod that tried to do it. It fails
Yeah.
miserably in all aspects.
yeah.
Well, I haven't tried it, so I won't vouch for it or anything.
Have you played Kerbal?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Who hasn't played
Okay.
Kerbal?
Who hasn't played Kerbal?
Crazy.
Quite a
people.
few people believe it or not.
Yeah, it's sad.
It is.
Such a well done game.
It's an extremely well done game. Now, another thing they could do is it's kind of like number 2, but having everything stationary, but still have the planets rotate. Like there should still be a physical sun that you could actually go to and orbit and stuff.
I hope they would have a physical sun.
Yeah.
Maybe stars.
Kind of like they do in Eve.
I don't think there's going to be orbital mechanics. I think it's going to be kind of like Empyrean. I keep coming back to Empyrean, but that everything just kind of matches what happens in Empyrean.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be for the best.
Big difference. Empyrean has a loading screen when you leave a planet, as opposed to DU is supposed to be seamless.
Yeah. Guess we'll
Anyways.
just have to wait and see.
Indeed. Okay, so we got one more Q&A AMA question.
I can take this one.
Okay, Yama.
Will dual universe have quintillions of planets to explore or colonize? Once you have, then they go on to answer. Once you have procedural generation, there is no limit to how many planets you could have, as they are basically free to create. We don't think that big numbers here are really meaningful for a MMO community. What matters, in our opinion, is the gameplay and player interactions. Are those planets going to be interesting for the players, or just feel empty all the same? We already saw in other games that having an immensely huge playground can quickly give a feeling of emptiness if it's not filled with proper content. Note, what follows is our plan, but this feature may or may not make it into the official release and could be implemented afterwards. Ideally, we want to handle our game universe under the form of a galaxy that can be visualized on a map right from the beginning. This map is the visible universe. However, everybody starts at the same location, the planet Alioth, and will slowly expand from there by building more and more stargates to explore new nearby systems. The expansion will define what we call the explored universe, the part in which players can directly travel and interact. So the explored universe will be much smaller, at least at the beginning, than the visible universe. Deciding to build a Stargate will be a very strategic and costly decision. We will provide tools to help making the right decisions. The visible universe will be accessible to some very basic sensing techniques to obtain information about the composition of the stars, from which educated guesses could be made about the type of materials of the planets of the system, and the potential mining opportunities. Because the explored universe will be player-driven, and that the decision to build an expensive Stargate to new systems will carry meaning and will drive players to be active in the new system, the explored universe should never feel empty or boring. This will also help to keep the game size in proportion to the player size, which is a very important aspect to us.
So
We all know what game they're talking about there.
Yeah, right off the bat, I shot No Man's Sky.
Shots fired.
Bam!
Critical hits. No Man's Sky loses millions. Although, to be fair, they didn't need to shot at them for that to happen.
Yeah. Pretty much. So, anyways, that's an interesting idea. From the sounds of it, the solar systems are going to be huge.
Yeah, they said it will take months to get a probe there, but this kind of more nails it in. It's going to take a while.
Which is good. I am in all favor of this type of game.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
if anybody's played Eve, which I'm assuming a lot of people, as part of the dual universe community, have played or continue to play Eve. If you watch the cinematic intro, it talks about how basically there's an Eve gate and all the colonists come through the Eve gate and they like colonize this planet and they're trying to colonize space. And then one day, for some reason, the Eve gate closes. It's like this wormhole and it just closes and they lose all contact with Earth. And so they're like stranded on a planet, and for I think it's like thousands of years go by until they're able to rebuild civilization, and then they take off from the planet and have to go build stargates and explore new star systems. That's kind of like us in Dual Universe, where like we're stranded on a planet, and now we have to rebuild civilization and go out and explore the stars ourselves.
Maybe people could qualify this as Eve, the prequel.
I kind of call it Eve the prequel.
Except, bear mechanics and half of people won't rage quit it.
Hopefully. Another problem with that scenario is it took tens of thousands of years for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think it says it actually took around 10 to 15,000 years.
Somewhere along the way, some of them developed immortality, etc.
Yeah, pretty much.
I might have, if that's the case for DU, I might have to get some vice faction leaders, make sure that in emergency crisis, the faction can be cared for, like my death. Because if it takes tens of thousands of years, I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
No, but it will take a while. I think when we all start out, like they said, the idea of being one of the first people in the game, which we're probably all going to be day one players here. When we go in, like we are the colonists. We have to build a civilization. It's up to us to build something because what we build, people may see for the rest of the game. And if I had to guess, about a Kickstarter reward, one of my guesses would be a piece of property next to the Ark ship.
Ooh.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty awesome.
I'll put some money down for
Start
that.
rolling in.
Because that would kind of negate like the issue of people like trying to scram in the server and claim territory right there, and B, it would kind of be worth money because if you pay money, let's say it costs $500 or whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there to get a piece of land right at the Ark ship where people walk out. It's the first thing that they see. A year or two into the game, if you rent that land or develop it into a store or whatever, it could actually net you enough profit just from new players to pay for your subscription forever.
Yeah.
Very true story.
Evil business schemes are currently going through my mind.
You mean they're just starting?
Oh no, they've been starting a long time ago.
That's one of my predictions for Kickstarter.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait until September and see. I'm hoping so. That would be pretty awesome.
We have to wait till
Yeah.
Friday. Friday is when
Till Friday?
that's when they're announcing the Kickstarter news.
I thought they weren't going to announce it until... Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind. Lay my last. I
August
thought
went
they were
by.
going to wait. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, this is I guess back in response to this AMA question. This is something that a lot of people have been asking about. Like, will there be planets that look like this? Will there be planets that are unique? Will blah 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 blah. Like, I'm going to go out and get my own planet. I'm going to go out and go as far away from everybody as possible on day one and like live alone. It's like, yeah, I don't know that you're going to be able to do all that.
That's been happening in my organization. You
I don't
have
think-
no idea.
I don't think anybody will ever be able to do that for very long. Sure, people will be able to build private stargates, but it's only a matter of time before someone else sends a probe out there and builds a stargate to your planet too.
Right.
Yeah, that's not going to work real well.
The big question is how defensive can you be about people sending probes to your system? Like, if you notice something in your system that's not supposed to be there and you destroy it, that negates their ability to come to your system.
That also means, though, if systems are huge, so you don't really know where the probe is going to come into your system. It's not until they're close enough to you that you would be able to see them or even pick them up on scanners, I imagine.
Probably. I wonder if they're going to have a D-scan type mechanic like they do in Eve.
Ooh, D-scan or scanner probes?
Yeah. Because
But if
that
there's-
would be...
Are they scanner probes that travel in real time? So you send them out. I don't know if anybody's done probe scanning in Eve, but it's not fun.
Once you get a rhythm down to it, it's not that bad.
But can you imagine having to wait for the probes to get out there in real time?
Yeah.
I
Waiting
can already
2
sense the
hours.
pain.
That's why I'm thinking more of a D-scan mechanic,
Mm-hmm.
where you can scan the area around you to see if there's anything around you, but it has a very limited range.
This also gets back to the perspective, camera perspective thing we talked about last week, like third person versus first person perspective. And if the game really is all going to be in first person perspective, then like scanners are extremely important, especially in ships. Like you don't know what's around you all the time unless you have people looking out windows back there or something.
Peek over the back of your window. Oh, hey.
I also hope we can target specific components when we're shooting at a ship. I don't know that we will. It's on my wish list if that's a possibility. But I would like to be able to target like scanners and take them out. It's like, oh shit, you lost all your scanners. Now you've got to target everything manually.
Good luck on targeting me. And someone brings up a good point in Beam Chat that the probes in Eve had warp drives on them.
Ah. I guess they'd be like micro warp drives.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like micro in terms of size. So like a warp drive. Because they also said in a previous was it an AMA that they said this in where like I believe it was where if you had a faster than light drive in your ship, you would need it would be big and you would need somebody like taking care of it or effectively someone on your crew that can manage it.
I don't think it was in an AMA, but I believe I remember seeing it in a post somewhere. Let me check.
It was an official thing. I know that. I'm not making that up.
Yeah, I remember it too.
I'll dig up the AMA, but please carry on.
I've got it right here. It's number 30.
Okay. Do you want me to just read this one real quick for people who are, I guess, new to Dual Universe just watching this?
Go ahead.
Okay. So number 30 was about... I like how we're veering off topic. Anyways, number 30 was about jump drives. And the question was, jump drives and faster-than-light travel, are there plans for jump drives or faster-than-light engines that don't need stargates? Having a ship capable of traveling faster than light by itself would be really good for exploration. Balancing could be done in a similar way to the jump drives in Space Engineers, where ship mass and energy limit distance. And their answer to that question was, or I guess it was more of a statement, but anyways, the answer was, we don't have plans for jump drives inside ships versus stargates that are independent structures made to help other ships to jump. Faster than light will be possible via warp drives, but they will be basically about traveling at very high speed, a few multipliers above the speed of light. No offense, physicists, this is sci-fi. The reason is that we have this mechanism of probes that must be launched in space to be able to deploy stargates. If we were to allow jump drives or insanely high speed, they would be used to bypass this constraint and deploy stargates much more rapidly. We believe it will give a better overall gameplay experience if new parts of the universe are discovered with relative efforts, creating a feeling of achievement and conquest that would simply not be there. If it's too easy to just jump there, it will allow to see the known world grow as the community is expanding, constantly opening new territories to explore and conquer. Is this... I don't think this is the right... I guess
No,
it
I
is.
I found another one.
Okay.
Talking about the Albacore warp drive. Want me to read it out?
Yeah.
All right, it's number 17. Was posted the 22nd of July. And the quote is, "Will we have albacore warp bubbles, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy improbability drives, a BSG-style jump drive, a whole new FTL torp, never before seen sci-fi? What other kind of FTL capabilities will the game provide, and what are the the words are hard. What are the implications of said FTL techniques? Will there be hyperspace dimensions to travel through?" And they go on to answer, "We have in mind to introduce FTL drives at some point. We want to gamify this notion to make FTL drive a central element of a large ship infrastructure. You can imagine being heavily damaged during a battle and unable to flee because the FTL drive is destroyed or scrambled, which would start a race to try and repair it and escape. Some people in the ship crew will most likely be dedicated to maintenance of the FTL drive, no matter what. To clarify, the goal of FTL drive is to allow your ship to do interplanetary travel. Interstellar travel will be a realm of stargates, which in another matter entirely. FTL is just super fast speed, with something like albacore warp bubble as the underlying tech. And stargates are about instant travel between two nodes. With something like wormholes as the underlying tech, we are not yet sure whether ships with FTL mode will have a physical presence on the server side, if they will effectively travel in some hyperspace and can be intercepted.
I hope that we can intercept things in going at FTL speed. That would make battles crazy. Like you're moving super fast. Like I imagine that part of the mechanic would be like if you destroy something at warp speed, like maybe the damage is much higher, but it's also much more difficult to find somebody at warp speed.
It's just decent. What I want to see is disintegration. Their ship just explodes into a whole bunch of voxels.
Or being able to disable the warp drive in the middle of warp.
That'd be cool. Think of how EVE Online interdectors work. And bubbles.
And also Elite Dangerous when you're at warp speed or whatever, pirates can pull you out of warp. I haven't seen that happen in No Man's Sky. I don't know if it does or not.
Well, you have to have multiplayer for that to work.
I mean,
the NPCs can stop you from using a certain thruster, but once you're traveling between stars, they don't stop you.
Nope.
Interesting, but yeah. To get back to the point, I guess, of why we went and read all these AMAs. It would be a central element of a large ship infrastructure. So a warp drive, or a faster than light drive, an Alcubierre drive, I guess is how you say his name. An Alcubierre drive would be effectively a large thing or part of a large ship, and you would need crew. I guess one person would not be enough. I imagine you'd need a crew of people taking care of it and making sure, like trying to get it online. And I imagine getting it back online is more than just repairing the warp drive itself, but also possibly the components that hook up to the warp drive. Like maybe your cabling is destroyed, or maybe some other element that is necessary to control the warp drive has been damaged, and you have to repair that computer console or some generator or some coolant drive or whatever. I imagine that the warp system will be more than just like, oh, here's a warp module. That's just my thoughts. But based on the quote, large ship infrastructure, that's what I imagine that means. But getting to the actual probes, so we know that we have Stargate probes, or what we call Stargate probes, interstellar probes. But we were talking about scanner probes, kind of like how they work in EVE Online. And scanner probes in EVE Online had warp drives in them so that they could travel quickly. But then the question is, will there be tiny? Are they controlled by like if they were in dual universe, would there be tiny warp drives that would be put into the scanner probes to travel somewhere? How did the interstellar probes work? What are they controlled by? Are they also warp drives? Because they also answered before in another question that we will be able to actually get in a ship and physically fly to another star if we want to. It's just that it will take an extremely long amount of time to get there. So perhaps the speed at which a probe is traveling is the same speed at which your ship would travel. Maybe. Just throwing out thoughts. What do you guys think?
I'm kind of hoping you can do that. Jump on a ship and just travel somewhere instead of sending a probe out. So I know you talked about doing that in the past with the alt account.
I mean, I'm definitely it's definitely going to happen. I think there's a lot of us who want to attempt doing it. It's just yeah, I think a lot of us who are going to do it will do it with either an alt account, because if you're traveling for, weeks, say it takes a month or 2 months at the most to get to another star. Say we're traveling for 2 months somewhere and our characters are stuck in that ship and we can't do anything. There's no planets between you and the other star. Like, where are you going to get the resources if you need them?
Right.
Yeah. Need to be pretty well prepared.
And then you have to have people managing the warp drive and then managing all the components if anything goes wrong while you're traveling. And then what do you do with that character? Like, I kind of imagine it being more of a role-playing experience for a month or however many days or whatever it takes to travel to another star manually. Like, you kind of have to be role-playing in-game or there's just nothing to do.
Right.
But, yeah, those are interesting. It's something interesting to think about.
Very. It'll definitely be possible, though.
Yeah.
It's just the logistics of it is going to be slightly difficult.
The logistics is probably the fun in it, too.
Oh, yeah. Figuring all that shit out? Definitely.
Take 2 months of planning. I bet some things in this game will take easily 2 months of playing.
But and then the question becomes, why would you do that? Why would you travel to a star manually? And I finally thought of the answer to that question, which is if you want to find a star that nobody else can get to. There's no Stargate. If you travel to somewhere manually, there's no Stargate to get there. So you travel to a planet, you put down a respawn point on the planet, that there's no Stargates in between, and you know that, like, at the very least, somebody either has to travel out there to get you, or somebody has to send a Stargate probe out there themselves to where you are. And how would they know what planet you're at?
This is all very true. And I would imagine doing something like that would take a small fleet of ships, not just one big ship. It would make much more sense to do it with smaller ships.
Or perhaps a big ship and smaller ships all
accompanying.
Yeah, because, I mean, you want to take supplies out there. Like, some basics at the very least. So you have a ship with cargo and probably people, and then I imagine little ships, like you said, also accompanying it.
Well, that's the case, then, like you said, we would be able to get instead of not having resources, we could get them if we happen to pass through a system on our way to our destination.
Yeah, or like asteroid mining, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah, but either way, it's going to be interesting.
Anyways.
That was AMA question number 2. So for question number 3, who wants to read that?
Your choice.
Okay, the one who spoke gets it. Kaiman.
All right, hang on. I don't read so well, as you could tell. Anyways, number 35, posted the 25th, which was Thursday, They have majorly slowed down on these AMA questions. Just saying. Uh, Anyways, the quote is, "Don't you think using procedural generation will make the game repetitive in the end?" Their response: "Procedural generation can be a powerful tool if used properly. That would indeed a big risk." That makes no sense, but okay. That would be indeed a big risk if we were counting on this feature as a miracle solution to make all the content of the game. However, we use it only to quickly generate the planets with a decent environment. In short, we use it to make the scenery, but the most part of the content won't be made procedurally, as it is supposed to be made by the players. Moreover, the fact that the game universe will grow at the same speed as the players explore their surroundings in space will also prevent, or at least greatly reduce, the feeling of repetitiveness. Shots fired again.
2 shots fired in the same week. Man.
Yep.
It's basically the same thing that was just discussed.
Pretty much, yeah.
But this does actually bring up another point I thought of. Some of you might have heard of a game called Splunky, and one of the specific parts of that game is its level generation. Every level is completely different. And the way it manages to do that is it uses this very unique system where it separates everything into cubes, and they will apply the course through those cubes, and once it reaches the bottom, it will create the exit, the entrance and the exit, entrance at top, exit at the bottom. And so essentially, it'll do that, and then it'll make sure that there's a surefire path. Then at sides there may be entrances, and so it does that. But each section has a template or a number of templates that can be used, but the sections of those templates are procedurally generated as well. Some of them are. And so it makes a really unique level. So I think if they can balance some of their manually created content with their procedurally generated content, it can definitely help. That's essentially the point here.
Yeah, as I don't think it's going to get too repetitive because, like they said, the amount of time that it's going to take us to go anywhere and do anything is going to be pretty obscene.
5 years later. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else want to comment on third AMA question?
I think actually having procedural generation will actually be quite the opposite. If they have a good enough code doing it, you have, with as few planets as we'll be getting to, there's a greater chance that everything's going to be immensely different. And the more things they put in that allows this code to generate these planets, the more random they can be.
They also said
Indeed.
that they're not randomly generating. I don't remember them saying anything about creatures, but I do remember hearing in the Grace Stills interview that they're not randomly generating like plants,
Right.
and like textures or terrain. Not is terrain the right word I'm trying to use? I guess terrain.
Well, saying the more resources it has to pull from, the different types of pre-made things it has to pull from to put there, the
Yeah,
greater
like they want
difference.
desert planets. They want like weird alien, quote unquote, planets, alien looking planets rather.
One thing
And-
that they don't want, though, is 10 rocks that look exactly the same.
And
Right.
JC mentioned that the reason like that might not be happening so fast is because they're using the artists that they have on hand for making some of that stuff. So that's why in a lot of the screenshots we're seeing trees and whatever, and there's a desert planet that we've seen, but we haven't seen a jungle planet, or we haven't seen a planet that is just all water, or maybe ice planets we haven't seen. Have we?
No.
No, we haven't seen them yet. We always seen as a Earth-like planet and a desert planet.
Now, the planet in the very first video that they'd shown had a rather thick kind of forest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there are trees everywhere, even sticking out of the water.
I think that is Alioth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the arc ship was shown there, it definitely is.
But I'm thinking all the flora and fauna are going to be completely different for each planet. All that's going to be made specifically for the planets,
Yeah, I would
or
assume
at least
so.
somewhat.
Usually for me, when procedural generation is talked about in terms of diversity, I think back to the Borderlands games with their weapons. Like the weapons were, I guess, technically procedurally generated, so to speak, whereas there was all these different things to choose from, and it randomly put them together into types of weapons, and there was like billions and billions of different types of weapons to find.
And the image that's on live stream right now of just trees, I assume that's in DU, correct? Of just the massive amount of leaves? Well, anyways, if we have something like that, something that has that much detail, maybe we'll have, flowers that we can pick, or some strange reason maybe die, or maybe even cactus type plants for the desert plant that you can get for water. It will be interesting to see maybe what we can do with some of this stuff that spawns on these procedurally generated plants and what we can get off of them.
Hopefully, not every single plant ever just turns into carbon.
Right?
Yep, and hopefully not every single rock that you find on the surface has this iron.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Oh, we'll take plenty more shots. We're not done yet.
Oh, no. Not even close to being done. So
Yeah.
glad I didn't pre-order that game.
I got the collector's
Yeah.
edition.
I pre-ordered it on Steam.
Yeah, I did too. Just for the ship, though.
Nothing
See,
more.
that's the
and if
thing.
It didn't work.
I mean, if we're going to talk about No Man's Sky, we may as well do it. No Man's Sky, their development cycle, they promised a lot of things, and they showed some things, but there was just so much about the game that was unanswered, and then they just went into release, and it was like, okay, and I don't know. Maybe some stuff was cut from the game because they needed to meet the release date. Maybe that was it. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and not just call them liars like a lot of people have been calling them. But
I think they probably had plans.
with
I have,
so in No Man's Sky, if someone were to ask them something, if they ever said no, they wouldn't really give an explanation of like why the mechanics of the game wouldn't allow them to do something. Whereas in Dual Universe, when people are asking them the questions, they're being transparent about why they can't do things and why some things have to be a certain way. They're not like just giving, false promises or whatever. They're actually showing it. They're showing us things that are working in the game. Of course, there's a lot that we haven't seen that they've said, but they're being transparent about what they do right from the start.
Yeah, that's the biggest bonus here is that we don't have anything being covered around.
have y'all heard of the guys that did the data mining on the No Man's Sky files?
Go on.
There's apparently no mention, no anything for multiplayer. Like, no bits of code, nothing left over if they removed it. Was never part of the game's programming. And there's no player models, which is a theory that I had.
Yeah, I figured that they didn't have player models just from looking around on it.
I think it was something that Blue Drake talked about in a video. But yeah, people had data mined, and there was a bunch of stuff that just wasn't in the game code that people thought might have been in the game, or that they had hinted at being in the game.
Heck, on Late Show with Stephen Colbert about months ago, he explicitly said when Colbert asked him, will there be multiplayer? Yes. Will you be able to run into a person? He specifically said yes. And as we see, there was no hint of that at all in the game.
The only multiplayer we have is like the chance of running into a planet that's been named by somebody else. And
Yep.
and even that, like, you gotta wonder, like, did they realistically think that people were never gonna find each other in the universe, and so that it wouldn't be an issue to lie about it? Or is it something that they thought that they were gonna have to put in later because they didn't expect people to explore that much so fast?
And they didn't expect people to figure out a way to immediately test it at the beginning of the game.
See, I think
Yeah.
with Dual Universe, they're giving us like a pretty. I don't know what you guys think about this, but a release date of 2018, which is very optimistic for a lot of games, especially in this stage when you think about the stuff they have to add. But then you also think about the stuff that they don't have to add. Like, okay, so they don't need to make ships. They just need to give us textures and resources and everything. They don't need to make interfaces because we're going to be the ones who have to program all that stuff. They don't really need to program the ships because, again, we're the ones who have to program all of it. So in a way, their work is limited to just giving us the engine and the technology, the server technology, which is what they've said before. Like, they want to be a technology company, not so much a content company. So they see themselves as more of a technology company. In a way, you can see the game as like a simulation. Like, they're giving us the engine capable of handling what we want to do with the simulation. Which makes me think that the release date of 2018 is realistic.
Right.
I think it's very realistic, but they did say, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on some of the programming stuff. Like, they said that you're not gonna have to program anything unless you want to program it. So then the UI elements and stuff like that it's gonna be there. It's gonna be kind of like widgets that you put into the chip, is what they said.
I guess
Yeah.
expanding on that, like, they don't have to give a wide variety of them. Like, it's...
Yeah.
I can imagine on ships, though, that it won't all just be plug and play. Like, I just don't see a lot of ship build. Like, I see a lot of customization in code needed for some ships that people want to build. Like, these little ships like this, I imagine they're pretty plug and play. But I don't know.
The larger capital ships and anything that you're gonna want any kind of detail on, you're gonna have to do some sort of programming. But for the most part, I think just to build a regular old spaceship that just goes from point A to point B, and that's about it, you're not going to have to do any kind of programming or anything like that.
Okay, so like the level of detail that you want in your ship is really going to be dictated by how much effort you're willing to put into making it, which kind of goes back to what they said.
Yeah, and think space engineers, kind of.
Okay.
Yep. How much money do I have? How much manpower do I have?
Pretty much. You can make a functional ship in space engineers without coding.
Oh yeah.
But coding gives you more options?
A lot more options.
Yep.
But you can completely automate everything in the ship with coding.
Yep. Just can't fly it in multiplayer settings. They're at least working on cleaning that up.
Yeah, they've actually got it somewhat fixed where you could actually have multiple people running around on the same ship on a planet.
Wow. It actually works.
Yeah.
Now to fix the 10 other problems.
There's also
Without creating.
it's worth mentioning Star Citizen also had that gameplay demo that came out at Gamescom. And regardless of what you think about their funding model and all that, like, still cool to see the footage.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen it.
that was pretty BA.
Yeah, it's always cool to see footage of games. Just when they actually come out, are we really going to get what we want? Again, more shots fired at No Man's Sky. Yeah.
Fire all the shots ever.
Okay, so I think we should probably go on to the third segment. Most of the last one was spent firing shots at No Man's Sky anyway, so might as well. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of week on forums. Yeah, so what does everyone have on their mind currently? What does everyone have to bring up here?
Well, someone wants us to talk about the full automation of battleships.
Oh.
I
Dang
don't.
it. We
I don't
almost got away.
I don't see everything being able to be automated. Like, we know that warp drives, like they said, would need a crew to take care of them. So I can't imagine that's something that will just be automated away.
No.
And kind of going off.
I think very little is going to be able to actually be automated.
Yeah.
People talk. I know I've heard this mentioned. Like, someone wants to make a fleet, like drones, and have like a fleet automated, like their whole drone fleet automated, and just be able to go in space and go into battles by themselves. And I don't see people being able to program ships in Lua to be fully automated and capable of like going into battle by themselves. I would see that being at a huge disadvantage to somebody who is manually flying some fighter ship.
Not to mention the strategic disadvantage of you being the only actual person in battle. A key person who somehow gets through the automated drones is going to take you out. It's kind of a silly idea to begin with.
Maybe automated turrets around your ship.
Oh, heck
Like-
yeah.
Send out a bunch of drones with automated turrets that just follow you, maybe.
Yeah, that definitely seems right. That actually brings up the game StarMate again. In the earlier models, things have changed since then, but you used to be able to dock turrets. You still can, but it's a little bit different now. And essentially what they would do is they would track with a module that you would put on there, they would track ships and fire at them automated. But at the same time, it would be much better for a real person being there, because then they can manage things just a whole lot better. Kind of goes on the same point.
Yeah. Cosmic Dragon, but they have already said that you could have drones, so how will that be limited?
Here's the difference between drones and automated AI ships. Drones can be used for a number of things. For instance, you could send out a drone to maybe go scan an area. You could send out a drone to go to a planet, per se, out in distance, like they have said. But that's just a drone. It's set to go to a specific coordinate most of the time. You might be able to set it to track something, but as far as the practicality goes, having a drone target basically ships is a very... I mean, it's possible, I imagine, but it's still very inefficient in the end.
I think this goes back to I can imagine combat drones, but I can't imagine the combat drones being like fighter ships. Like, you know, if somebody's out there with a custom-made ship and everybody in a fleet is all flying these custom-made ships, I can't imagine that they would be at a disadvantage to a bunch of AI combat drones. On top of that, I think this kind of also goes back to the skill system, which is one of the questions I'm going to bring up to JC. I don't know if he'll answer it or not, but my hypothesis about the skill system is that, you know, if you're in a battleship and you're flying it by yourself, perhaps you have the skills necessary to fly it, but you haven't really trained the skills necessary to use the guns to their full potential, or perhaps use the drone system to its full potential, or et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think that like guns are something you're going to be able to automate it away with AI to be better than somebody with the skills, like trained skills in the game to use something. And I think the same might go for drones, even like to use a drone system, like some element or computer that gives you access to the drones. I imagine that their efficiency will be dictated perhaps by your skill level in using said element.
Yeah, and how many things will the drone have to, for instance, multitask? For instance, you could have a number of scripts going, one to fire the weapons, make sure that you aren't maybe overheating them, firing them at the correct time, all this. But then you have to have another one for tracking, another one for moving closer to a target. And then in the end, you get to the point where you have all these scripts running. But at the same time, what would a human player be able to do there? They would be able to do it based off of training, skills, all this, and know exactly what they're doing. The drone is just running off of scripts. It doesn't actually know what it's doing.
And if any of those devices get damaged, that script is gone.
Yep.
Indeed. And who knows? Players can actually evade as well. To have drones set up to evade?
And also think of a ship boarding party. If somebody boards your ship, wouldn't you want your ship to have a lot of people on it versus just you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this brings up another good question, is remote control.
I think it has its practicalities. But still, being there in person will have its much better practicalities. Boarding parties, as you said.
A distance limitation to remote control, and also if they take out the element controlling the remote control, then you've lost the ship.
I'm also hoping for self-destruct.
Yeah.
Also, if they take out cameras.
I want to be able to scuttle my ship.
Yeah. That's going to be a have to.
Like, I don't want to give my ship to somebody else just because they killed me. No. Self-destruct this thing.
Boom.
There's like
as
a race.
As one key system goes down.
Kamikaze drone.
Can you imagine like a race of people inside of a ship trying to escape, and also people trying to like get to the self-destruct thing to disable it?
Doors closing, shutting people off.
I would just run a script to say, turn the lights all on and off, cause any form of panic possible.
All your
have
soldiers
a siren going.
All your soldiers defending your self-destruct unit, knowing that the only reason they're defending, it's like a suicide mission. Like they know that like they're just trying to keep him out long enough to die.
Yeah. So, now, on to the third segment. Okay, seems like we're good. On to the third segment. So, does anyone have any topics they want to bring up in the forums this week?
Oh, thought we were on that topic.
Well, we were, then we got hit with an audience Q&A.
Oh, okay. Well, we got a lot of new members on the forum this week, so happy about that. Also, Frog. What are they? Frog Federation? Frog something?
Oh, Frog...
Frog
Let
Swarm.
me look at them. Frog Swarm, yeah. Yeah, we're getting quite a few things happening. I'm slowly falling in the ranks of my organization. This is not good. Oh well. But yeah, now that there's actually been some things going on with Cinderfall, that you might have noticed, Terran Union now has 48 members. And that is because the Hammer Corporation merged with Terran Union, so now we're actually seeing some organizations merge.
Yeah, I got hit up on the on the community site for merging a bunch of smaller ones. I was like, nah, dude, I'm good. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
But there may not be a lot of us, but I think my exact word was, we're not a huge organization, but we're highly efficient and diligent in whatever we do. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely not worried about needing a big organization to advance through the game faster.
Let's see. Triaxine. What organization do you manage again?
Ninja Clan Fu.
Oh yeah.
We started as a group of IRL people playing games together.
I started this my diversified alliance on a whim. It didn't turn out half bad.
Just an example of I don't mean to get too off topic here. I'll make it quick. Example of our group is we played Ark, and in a matter of 4 hours we tore down most of someone's base on an official server, and that was I think 6 of us, and I think they had at least 6 if not 10 or 12, and it took them 2 weeks to do the same amount of damage to us, and we didn't even get online.
The failures. And Arc 2, that is a very grind-heavy game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that takes time.
You want grind? Try playing Worm.
One of my favorite games, though.
Yes.
Worm is an amazing game. And it's partly amazing because you know that there's so much effort that goes into making some of the things if you see something in the game as a new player, you're like, that doesn't look very interesting. And then you start playing the game and you see things, you're like, holy crap, some of the stuff people have built.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh. Your reaction at beginning is, oh, hey, look, that's kind of cute. Your reaction middle, oh crap, that was amazing.
Yeah, it's like months of time to build some stuff. It's insane. And it's actually, it was Notch's first big game. The Notch who made Minecraft. It was his game before
Was it Notch?
Yep. It was Notch and one other guy, who I forget his name, and Worm players will be angry at me for forgetting his name. But Notch and this guy had this company, and then Notch left to go work for another game company, apparently, and then quit that to go work on Minecraft, I think. Or maybe he quit Worm to go work on Minecraft. But if you look in the credits, Notch is in there.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yep, everyone knows Notch, except the things that he works on.
Worm is like...
Except for one single thing, and that is Minecraft.
Worm is like a hardcore Minecraft.
that. Very hardcore.
Yeah.
Imagine having to dig a mine, but instead of like taking just a couple of seconds, it takes literally all day.
Wow.
Yeah, like you dig out one block at a time underground, and even before you do that, you have to dig up the soil to actually get to the ground. And then when you find rock, you start digging at it, and it will take like 30 minutes at the very least.
It takes 50 to 60 hits, or 50 to 100 hits, or something like that, to mine one tile.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
And if you find a tile with like iron in it, say you find like an iron resource, you can't just mine it out. You have to like mine it. It may have between 1,000 and 10,000 ore in it. So you have to mine it 1,000 to 10,000 times for it to empty out completely.
Oh, good God.
And each mining action takes, I think it's like, depending on your skills, could take anywhere from a second to like a few seconds. I think the highest I've seen is 10 seconds. I can't remember.
I thought it was as low as 10 seconds, but as high as 30 seconds or 45 seconds.
Yeah, some ridiculousness like that. So That should
Yeah.
give you a rough idea of how long it'll take to do anything in Worm.
It's a
Yeah.
fun game though. It's fun, but
It is retardedly fun. I don't know why it's so fun, but it is.
it's so hard.
I
don't know if it's
Yeah,
hard
everything
so
can
much
kill
as
you.
just yeah, everything wants to kill you, and it's hard in the sense that you want to be around people and work with the community and like find like people who live around you and all kind of like live together in the same area. That's part of the fun. It's also part of the difficulty. You can't just go out by yourself as a new player, like you'll die.
You will, especially if fog spiders are around.
One of my favorite things about Worm Online is that if you build a road in Worm, or say you dig a trail through some trees, like one day you're going and you're mining some stuff in your mine in the woods, and you're bringing it back to some village or whatever to build something or sell it even to some other players. Well, you go back and forth, and eventually you're like, okay, well, I'm sick of walking this trail. I'm gonna build a wagon so I can carry more stuff. And so you cut down all the trees on the trail, and you drag the wagon along the ground, and eventually you're like, okay, well, now I need to flatten the ground to take my wagon there. So you go in and you flatten the ground. That takes you a day or two to go and flatten the whole trail. And eventually you're like, okay, now I want to pave it so everything goes much faster. So anyways, you pave the road, and finally you end up with like a paved road to your mine. Well, then you quit the game for like a year, and the road will actually deteriorate. Eventually, the paved road will get like overgrown with grass, and then trees will start growing again. Well, then somebody else comes into the game later, and they like find your mine, and then they notice that the ground is flat. So they cut down the trees, and then they realize that there was a trail there before. There's just like just that deterioration and things returning back to their natural state is part of the allure of Worm to me. Because you can find ruins of places that people have just abandoned. I know I have a huge village there that's probably overgrown with stuff now, too.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. And back to Dual Universe.
One of the posts that kind of stood out to me on the forums actually was someone had asked, I can't remember what the name of the topic was now. I think it was, let me see if I can find it. They were asking about how you can fit square voxels in a sphere, and to me it seemed like people don't really grasp the concept of what a voxel is. It's not just squares; it's any shape, any size you can make it into. There's a topic called geometry.
Also,
Yeah.
in this, we know that a voxel here, or can assume one, is a square because they showed us the cube that's one voxel.
Right.
And it's 25 centimeters. So if there's a giant planet, imagine how many voxels are in the planet. A lot. And then on top of that, I tried to explain the topic in the thread. Like, a voxel sphere is not hard to make. You can make a voxel sphere in Minecraft. What you can't do in Minecraft is smooth it. So the way that you smooth it in Minecraft is to make it as big as possible so it looks more round. But if your voxels are 25 centimeters and you have a whole planet, there's even on top of that smoothing techniques that you can use, which I tried to explain in the thread, which I guess wasn't going to sink in to the guy who asked the question, because he's having a hard time understanding what I was trying to explain. But effectively, you just make a voxel sphere with cubes, and then you smooth it. And it's called, what is it called? Walking cubes, I think. It's the smoothing technique for voxels, effectively, or how to smooth a cube.
Yeah, some stuff I've seen people say that voxel stands for volumeric pixel. Which if you think of a voxel as a volume, then you can think that there's a grid of cubes set out, but you only fill up some of the cubes so much to make it like look rounded.
Yep, perfect. It's a perfect.
And I said that too. I said that I posted that in there. He's like, and I also posted a video. I think the video I learned that from, and he was like, "Hey, that's a great video. Now we just need JC to talk about it." You skipped everything else that I said.
Now we need JC to talk about it. That
Well-
should be a motto somewhere.
If you read the dev blog about voxels, it kind of explains that too. Or I guess the voxel tools.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think there's much else in the forums. Oh. This. It's still going. Oh.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
It's not what you think.
Yeah. It actually isn't.
Someone made a thread. Please do not make the game free to play.
Yeah, let's just beat this dead horse again.
Please.
Maybe if we
Just
beat it.
stop.
Maybe if we beat it with different objects, it will change.
Yeah.
Maybe
It-
let's beat it with a sphere.
Yes, Cosmic, it was Captain.
We've been beating it with cubes. Let's beat it with spears.
Let's, just moving on. Next.
Oh, please. Why did he post that?
Raptor Squad. I, as my character in Raptor Squad, did some would it be espionage or what's the word I would use here?
Yeah, he messed up
Depends
someone's
on what you
plans.
did.
Okay, so Vulture Corporation is a group on the forums, and they paid some spokespeople to do some promotional videos for them. And one of them was like this guy who like had this really professional. He was really professional about his video, and I have the video here, which I'll share. I'm gonna play it. That I made. I went out and I found this guy online selling his services, and so I asked him to make a video for Raptor Squad. And if nobody minds, it's like 40 seconds. I'm gonna play the Raptor Squad video. Does anybody care?
No, please
Go
do.
for it.
Not at all.
It's great.
I used to
Yes.
work as a spokesman for Vulture
And we're
Corporation.
all just sit back
Until
and
I
listen to the
discovered
greatness.
the primal thrill of hunting with my pack in the woods at night. I left
Okay.
behind all the super serious business
Nope,
stuff
dude,
about
please.
leadership, careers, and chose that finely tuned reptilian killing machine. Now I'm a raptor. And if you like explosions and fire, you want to leave the bureaucratic life behind, you want to feel the thrill of the hunt, join the pack and become a predator too. Yeah!
It's just so perfect.
Dude, that dude reminds me of the guy from Full Metal Jacket. You know, the drill instructor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just so perfect at doing it. It was awesome. I loved how he got so angry about it. It was awesome.
Yama paid this guy to do this, specifically to annoy Vulture Corporation.
Raptor Squad paid this guy. Let's pin this on Raptor Squad.
Oh, Raptor Squad. Raptor
Sure.
Squad did it. Yeah.
Sure, it was Raptor Squad.
It's all right. I got some more videos for Raptor Squad coming up here over the next week.
Oh, please do.
This Raptor Squad.
Brilliant. That is probably the most noble thing in the forums this week. We're not paying attention to that other post. We don't need it. Get
Yeah.
out.
A lot of posts from new members in the forums. People,
And one very annoying old member at the moment.
yeah, that's what he does. Anyways, but there's a lot of new people in the forums. I would say if you're going to sign up on the forums, I would before you post anything, like questions, there's the dev blog that has tons of information, and then there's the AMA thread that has tons of information in it as well. And I also believe there's an FAQ thread still going. So there's just a ton of information out there to absorb. Because the game is more developed than a lot of people have assumed it was. There's a lot more planned out than they came into the forums thinking about.
I think we need to try and get a topic pin that has these points of interest to read.
We have one.
Oh.
Give me just a sec. It was done by Cybrix. There you go.
Cybrix.
I've seen some suggestions on like trying to sell land, trying to sell planets or whatever, and the game is not going to be like Second Life. Like, it's a subscription model game. We won't get too far into that, but effectively, like, that is the reason why we won't be paying for things in the game. Nobody wants to buy.
So how does Raptor Squad interact with menus?
With what? Oh, with menus?
Menus.
Their faces, their noses.
Audible sounds.
Their tails.
Are they just pressure plates and you have a huge thing that's your control panel?
Oh, sorry, not menus, Meru. As in the order of Meru.
Oh, Meru.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't see any disagreements between Meru and Raptor Squad. Raptors can believe in whatever they want. They're free. There's no rules for being a raptor.
Okay, then.
Meru isn't necessarily about peace. I don't think they said anywhere they were about peace, necessarily.
Yeah, in fact, didn't you say on, I think it was even the Explorers, that you see the Oromeru, you run, or you think, oh no, what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I've got some ideas
Please.
for some menacing-looking ships. Just,
Please take a route other than my area. Let's see. Okay,
Yeah, I'm not
then.
finding anything else on the forums of interest.
Yeah, a lot of it is just stuff that has already been answered, or we just don't need it anymore. Yep. Okay, then. Well, I think that's actually it for the stream.
Oh.
Unless anyone else wants to add anything.
Nothing I can think of.
I'm good.
All right, then. Well, then, I'll leave the outro to Yama.
Cool. Well, everybody wants to say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I am Master Dread. Thank you for allowing me to host, and I will be signing off.
I'm Gaiman. See y'all next week.
I'm Drixine. I'll try to be here next week. Pleasure being on here with you guys.
And I am Yamamushi. Thank you for being part of the stream. Thank you for watching the stream this week. Whether you're watching on Twitch, Beam, Stream Up, Hitbox, YouTube. Can't remember where else we're streaming right now. We've got a lot of places. We're using Restreamer now, restream.io, to reach as many people as we can. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for sitting through all of this on YouTube. Next week, we will be celebrating our 10th episode with a special recap from all the happenings at PAX West. If you're going to be attending, please reach out so we can talk some Dual Universe. Also, next week's episode will broadcast on Sunday, September 4th at 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time. However, the following episodes will resume broadcasting on Saturdays. Have a great week, everyone, and be nice to each other.